Hello and welcome to another tutorial about Superforms. In this tutorial, I will explain how you can set up a form to subscribe a new user to your MailChimp newsletter. So in order for this to work, you must have the Superforms MailChimp add-on installed and activated. Once you've done that, you will notice there is a new element named MailChimp. So simply drag and drop this element to your canvas. And you will notice there's a message that you require to enter your list ID. Now the list ID is basically the audience ID within your MailChimp dashboard. So in order to get to the MailChimp audience ID, you can log into your MailChimp account, and from your audience page, you can head over to all contacts, and from here you can go to the settings and then audience name and defaults, and from here you will be able to find your ID over here under audience ID. Now another way to find this is by going to audience dashboard and going to the drop down manage audience and going to settings, and from here you can scroll down and find the list ID over here. So this is the audience ID, the audience title. It's named test in my case, and this is the ID. So copy the ID, go back to your form and enter this ID under the general tab and then under MailChimp audience ID. So copy and paste. Now once you've done that, you can define optionally some merge tags. Now merge tags can be defined within MailChimp itself. So if you want to define merge tags, you can do so by going to your audience and then under settings, audience fields and merge tags. Now on this page, you will find the default merge tag, which is email, which you can't remove, obviously. And you will also find first name, last name, and if you want to, you can define some custom merge tags as well. So you can either use this as the unique name, but you can also use the merge and then the number tag. But in this example, I will use the phone number. Now, one thing I want to point out is you can also use like other types of fields. Like for instance, if you want to have a drop down, you can do so as well. For instance, if you want to ask the user's favorite color, you can do so as well. But in this case, I will just grab the phone merge tag and go back to our form. And over here, you can enter phone and then the field name in your form to map it to. So in our case, it will be a phone number. Now we haven't really added a phone number yet, so let's do that first. Go to the form elements, drag and drop the phone number, and let's rename this to number. So this will be our unique field name. Now if we go back to the settings of our MailChimp elements, we can simply add the field name over here, which is number. So now when the form is submitted, the merge tag will be holding the value of our field number. Now you can define multiple, so just put each one on a new line. Next thing is to display interests or groups to your users so they can choose what interested they are in. So for instance, if I enable this and set it to yes and update the MailChimp, you will notice there's some interest displayed to the user, so they can choose if they want to get notified about sports, education, or politics. Now this is something you will have to define in your MailChimp dashboard by going to manage contacts and clicking on groups. Over here you will find your groups. Now you probably don't have any groups, but you can simply create one by clicking on the groups button, and you can define all the options over here. So in this case I only have a interests group, and if I view this group, you can see there's a sports, education, and politics as option. Now, as you can see, you can basically add multiple groups, and they will be displayed as well over here. So the user can choose from different groups. That's something to keep in mind. So now that's done, we can go over to the next option, which is to subscribe the user with a couple of tags. So for instance, if you want to categorize your users, you can do so as well by defining that over here. Another option you have is to set the VIP status. So this must be either true or false or blank, and by default it's blank, and that means it's non-VIP. Another option is to send the MailChimp confirmation email. Now this is important if you want to verify that the email address is actually correctly filled out, so that it's a working email address. So you might want to set this to yes, but in this demonstration I leave it to no because it's easier that way, and the user will be subscribed instantly to our audience list. Now if you set this to no, then you have the option to unsubscribe the user after the form is submitted. So this might be useful if you want to provide the option for your users to unsubscribe via a form on your website. Now obviously this is set to subscribe by default, and that's also what we're gonna use. Now the other options are all default options, and I'm not gonna change those, so we can now update the element. Now the element is updated. We can add the actual email field. So let's grab and drop that to our form. I'm gonna put this on the top. Now one thing that is important to know is that this should be named email. Otherwise the MailChimp add-on won't know what email address to store. So that's something to keep in mind. So okay, now that's done. We want to go over a couple of other settings, which are the ones on the form settings. I want to disable the admin email because we don't require this. Now that's maybe different for your use case, but in this demonstration I'm disabling these, and I'm also not gonna save the contact entry because all the data is basically already stored on the MailChimp side. So another thing you want to do is probably change the thank you message. So by default it's thank you, and then we will reply within 24 hours. Now in this case I want to just say thank you for subscribing, and I want to leave this blank. Now in this case we have set to not send a confirmation email, but if you set it to yes, you might want to change this to thank you for subscribing, and then please confirm your email in your inbox, something like that. But in this case I'm gonna leave it blank. Now that's done, I'm gonna publish this form on our front end. So I'm gonna rename this form to MailChimp, and then I'm gonna save it. And once it's saved, you can grab the shortcode over here, copy it, create a new page, and then name this page MailChimp demonstration, and simply paste the shortcode inside, publish the page, view it, and now on this page we can test if the MailChimp subscription works by using either your own email address, but I'm gonna use a temporary email address, and I'm gonna fill the form out. So I'm gonna choose the interest sports and politics because that's what I'm interested in, for instance, and then submit the form. Now as you can see, it tells us thank you for subscribing. Now I can close this pop-up and go to our audience list, and now if I go to all contacts, I should have a new audience or one contact, as you can see here. Now as you also notice, the phone number is correctly saved and the interests are also stored. So this basically covers how you can So subscribe your user to your newsletters in MailChimp after a form is submitted. So if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. If you want me to do more videos or have suggestions for a tutorial video, let me know, and I'm more than happy to demonstrate how we can do things with super forms. Yeah, that's about it. Have a nice day. Take care.